Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sledgehammers in the Office podcast, where we celebrate the heavy hitters on the job site and in the office. If you are new to the show, we've got two different kinds of shows that we do here. We've got one, which is your typical, we're going to pick one about their specialty, what they do with their job, kind of get a little bit of the story, how they got from wherever they started to where they are currently, try and learn about some of the I'd say almost like tips and tricks of the trade and how they got there, find what's applicable to us. And then the second type of show, which the one we've got tonight, is where I sit down with Alex von Reich and Mason Oxendale, and we talk about our businesses as we're trying to get them up and running. So tonight we're going to be talking about stuff with business plans going into next year. We'll talk about some of the numbers that we closed out for 2024. We've got some company thoughts on growing through word of mouth. And then Mason's going to be talking about assumable loans. Then did I mention the property taxes part yet or no?
No.
All right, then we're going to hit that. But before we do, we're catch up with the boys. So boys, what have we been up to?
Well, it's only like the busiest time of the year. So, not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
I know you love that answer.
I do. Mason, what have you been up to?
A lot. I mean, a lot. I guess it was the seasons of greetings. Unfortunately, we'll get this out of the way early. I attended two more funerals than last time.
More.
Yeah. So that was been a weird, unusual couple months. Nobody like immediate family, so it's not like life turned upside down and stuff. So, but still very weird. I got a lot. I mean, main thing I got knee surgery coming up tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
This is where
So you feeling about it?
I feel fine. Yeah. I mean, it's the same surgery I had in high school, so it's not too invasive or whatever. Like the doctor said, I should be able to drive within 2 to 3 days. So like a month or two. Yeah, month or two to get fully recovered. Although it's definitely different than getting surgery in high school, as far as like I got to miss school a couple of days and just sat at home, or like this time I had to like schedule. Okay, I had to call people to see who can pick up the kids from school, take them home, and like for a couple of days since I can't do all that. Yeah, and then smartly, one of our Christmas gift for the boys was we're going to Disneyland.
Nice.
So they're excited, which is about 12 days after my surgery.
So are you going to get one of those roller carts where you just push yourself around and you've got your little tripod going?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I might buy one. I mean, my dad has a cane. I might take a cane if I'll probably, or they've got those you can like rent the things. The what do you call those? Realtor and stuff. So we'll see how it goes. I'm motivated to not have to do any of that crap, but that'll be fun. I joined a golf league.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
It's nice because some of these golf leagues are very competitive and intense. But this is like they play every Saturday, and it's like you don't have to play every Saturday. You just sign up for Saturdays you want to play. They keep track of it, and it's more people like in my skill level, so which is
bad.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, not very good. Normal.
Yeah.
So, but that was cool.
Where are you guys playing?
They play all over the valley. Sometimes the east side, west side. So I only got to play in 2 rounds. Because I mean, I don't know how I'll probably be out for at least a month, golf wise. So, yeah. So I'm excited to see if I can actually get halfway decent at golf. I don't even want to be really good. I just want to be like, oh, he's not bad. Let's invite him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes you pay in the wintertime, you pay these $70+ to play golf just to hit it 100 times. That's not
It's
fun.
so expensive. Hey, you're getting more you're getting your value. You're getting more hits in than other people.
Yeah, but the mental.
Yeah, my buddies and I did a scramble tournament while we were I had a buddy of mine in town, and so we did random teams and whatever, very strict rules and all that kind of stuff. We did horrible the front nine, but back nine, we were playing awesome. I just wish I could have played that, for both nines rather than just one side. But no, it was a really fun time. I played 2 days in a row, and I was definitely sore afterwards.
That'll get you. Those are fun though because like you don't have to put good shots together. As long as you got one decent shot a hole, you're fine.
Yeah, which I'm really good at. Only we were really good at, especially the front nine, not having any good shots. It was it was a specialty of mine.
Yeah,
but overall it was super fun. Do you guys other than all that stuff, what else are you guys up to?
This.
What about you, Thaddeus? What have you been up to?
We had Christmas. Christmas was busy because
Yeah.
for us, Christmas is like 3 days. So it was Christmas Eve. We had stuff starting. I think we went to the gym like an hour after we woke up and didn't stop until like we got home at 10 on Christmas, woke up, and essentially we were at my father-in-law's house by 9, got home that night around 10:30, and then the next day went to the gym. Kendra went to the gym, and then we had to be somewhere around like 11, and we weren't home until after 9. So Maddox didn't sleep the entire time. And so the final day, or I guess the day after all the festivities, he just slept all day and got caught up. And I was like, thank God. But it was a lot of fun just hanging out with family and everything.
You enjoy going to a bunch of places?
Yeah.
On
Well,
holidays?
it depends. It depends. Like for, how do I say this carefully?
Depends on whose house you're going to.
Sure. I'll say that. Yeah, I'll say that.
When you get kids, it's nice because you can it's a very good anchor. Be like, yeah, we're just gonna do our Christmas here. So if you want to get together, we can do it on this day.
Yeah.
So you can use it if you want.
My family doesn't really listen to the podcast, so it's fine. There's some parts of my family where it's a ton of fun to go over, and there's tons of games. Like it's Christmas Eve at my grandma's house, especially. There are games that we've played every year. So one of them is LCR. If you guys have ever played that, it's 3 dice, and so someone wins. We have the guess the amount of pennies in a jar game, different stuff like that, and with essentially that same group and then more people day after Christmas, we're getting together for more games and different stuff. So we'll play. We used to play a lot of Around the World on the ping pong table. We've done just a lot of stuff. So those are like, hey, we can't miss it because those are those are when it gets a ton of fun. And then Christmas changed up a little bit this year with my family. So we were doing games with my parents and all that stuff. And then even with my wife's in-laws, we had some games that we did. So it was a lot of fun just overall. So, and then, something I forgot about was, so the most recent guest we had on the podcast was my uncle, and he's from Florida. And then one of my wife's uncles was in town from Florida, and he owns a couple businesses. So while he was in town, we sat down and recorded a podcast. So that comes out tomorrow. So we're recording on the 6th for everyone who sees the podcast afterward. But yeah, so other than that, it wasn't too crazy of a month. We went to that Dr. Phil live show, and dude, I enjoy watching it like on YouTube, the stuff that they put out. In person though, hilarious.
Really?
It was, oh my gosh, it was ridiculous.
That's good.
So it was a ton of fun.
Came out on stage, right?
No, that they had recorded that one and published it for Netflix. And so that came out November 19th, and we went to the December 6th show where they came to Arizona. And so it was nuts. There's just mayhem. So it was a good time though.
Heck yeah. I also had a crazy Christmas. We were hosting my cousin for about 6 days, and then the day after she left, my in-laws came. They just left tonight, and then I have a friend coming next weekend. So we've just had like back to back. We're calling it like the Von Reich Inn. So that was a lot of fun. But I am exhausted. And then Theo was sleeping super well, and then last night it's like he knew I had work the next morning, and I think I slept a collective 2 hours. After a weekend of like, I got to nap, I got to catch up, the in-laws were helping watch him. It was amazing. And then all of that immediately got erased. So if only you could store up sleep. It'd be so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that and something that happened pretty early in, well, mid-December. I actually did my first webinar, which took a lot of effort. I had some awesome guys I know come up and support, so I really appreciate that, you two. And it was a lot of fun, but learned a lot from it, and then I'll go more into that later on.
Cool. All right, Mason, you got anything else before we jump in?
No. Oh, we played. I'm in the LRC winner of late 2024, New Year's Eve.
You got it.
I won. Yeah, I won it all. It was me. It was me versus my the buddy's youngest daughter. I beat her. I wasn't letting her win.
That's awesome.
No freebies.
Yeah, dude, that was like $45 in ones right there, man.
Yeah. I think we had similar. Like it was. We had $3 per person, and we had probably close to 20.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I do have one last question with the LRC. Like, what is your rules? Like, do you have any like they had weird house rules where like if you have no money, and then if it makes one full rotation without you getting anything, then you're out.
No.
heard that
Everyone's
Always
in the
in.
game. The only people that can roll are the people who have items or money in front of them. But it's essentially whoever ends up with something at the end wins. So
That's how I've always played.
Yeah, so like we've always had 20 plus people at a table. So like no one's getting eliminated, and it makes it where you're cheering where it's like left, 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 or right, 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 depending on whoever's rolling. So it makes it where we've seen it travel down the down and around the table, and then someone ends up with it where you thought they had no shot. And so it keeps more people involved rather than being like, I'm out, and then you don't get anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan, but I won, so I was okay with it.
Yeah, right.
But yeah. All right.
Hey, we'll clip this part and send it to whoever invited you over and let them know they're doing it wrong.
Oh yeah, I will. All right, deal.
Very important.
Cool.
Is this when you insert your ad?
Oh, he froze.
Oh, he did.
He froze and.
Oh,
But I've been a little under the weather.
Oh, there you go.
At least it wasn't like a super ugly face.
Yeah.
That would have been embarrassing. It wasn't bad.
Did it freeze?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Before we get into the business stuff, we've got our ad read for the night. And I forgot to mention that I've been a little under the weather. And so this one that Shamrock Farms definitely sent over to us makes a lot of sense. But when your body is in a fight, give it what it needs to win in the form of Shamrock Farms chocolate milk. With 10% of your recommended daily dose of vitamin D, you might as well just drink 10 servings to recover faster. So head to your nearest store and grab a couple gallons of Shamrock Farms chocolate milk. And obviously, it's a lot of sugar drinking while you're sick, but I mean, I'm no quitter. So,
well, it's very kind of them. Your liaison is very very much involved in your personal life, making sure you're taken care of.
You need to start before the ad read. You need to change your background to Shamrock.
Shamrock.
I should. I think I even made one.
I think you should call it Shamrock from now on.
Definitely not. We're trying to get a sponsorship here, or even just recognition that we exist. All All right. I'm going to kick things off. Then we'll go to Alex. Then Mason, you'll wrap us up before our company thoughts. But
Yep.
just to hit some of the numbers that we've been tracking, 2x4s are at $3.85. That's up like 10 cents. Plywood's at $18.58. We've seen that fluctuate as low as $12 all the way up to almost $25. Copper is $28.67. That's been holding pretty steady. So for all the people that say building materials are out of control, essentially they've been the same for about, we're in 2025, so it's now 4 years, not 3 years. So you can kind of pat them on the head, turn them around and tell them they don't know what they're talking about. December numbers. So we finished up our road to 100K. We weren't focusing on the new one, which is going to be the road to 100K gross. We ended with 25,564 for December. That gives us a year-end total of $248,098. That was just gross revenue. So the nice part is that landed like just under 2,000 below what I got the insurance for last year. So that's kind of nice. Action steps from last month was getting my house in order with the bookkeeping. And then I don't think I really mentioned this one, but I started doing some research for the podcast. But I'll start with the getting stuff in order for the bookkeeping. The nice part was that I think I've got stuff set up on the estimate side where it's going to be a lot cleaner, but I didn't get all the bookkeeping stuff finalized. So that's going to be this next month. Probably in the next 2 weeks, I'm trying to get all the 1099s organized, all the transactions done, so that gets cleared. And then one that I kind of had some extra time because I took a little bit of time off for end of December was doing some research just for the podcast to see if there's ways that we could make it better with cameras, editing, all that good stuff. And we're going to keep the way that the three of us are doing it over Google Meet, but when we have our guests in person. So this year, everyone's going to be seeing what we're doing with that. Let's see. So this next month, we talked about 1099s, organizing everything. This year, I'm really trying to focus on making it a year of profit and systems. So this past year, we did just about 250. My goal for this year is to do 400 top line, but really focus on making sure that we're hitting profit margins, that we're actually tracking what those are and trying to make sure that we're hitting that. So my goal is to hit like a net 10 to 15% profit margin. And that's going to be my big focus. The other thing with the systems is going to be making sure that everything is organized and systematized so that it makes my life easier. I ran into something today that I noticed, even with just ordering materials for a project for my customers, where at the last minute I'm having to be like, hey, I know we had talked about this and kind of made a decision, but what was the decision again? So trying to clear those things and make it where we're not doing that, because that doesn't look professional at all. But yeah, that's what we're going to be focusing on for this year. Nothing too crazy, I think, happened for December for the business that I feel like we really need to dive into. And I've got something later for the company thoughts. So Alex, what do you got?
So I have done a little bit of research. I mean, look, it's been now 6 months since I've been doing the Ace Makers program. Things weren't working. And, it's either I keep bashing my head against the wall or I figure out a different way. So last month I did a lot of interviews, or tried to do a lot of interviews with different CFOs, both nationally and internationally. Big focus on the international side this time around, seeing if we can plug into any others. Heard back from a couple other people, and I was trying to figure out, okay, in commercial real estate, how many, what are really the big problems that there just aren't solutions for, or if there are, like, what are people looking for? And something that keeps coming up is property tax, and that's something that I've heard stuff about in the past, and I've very briefly looked down building a solution, and there are some solutions out there, but there's a lot of manual processes behind it, and solving it would be tricky, but I could see it being very, very valuable. So for context, there's like 3,200 counties in the US, and of those, each county does property taxes differently. in terms of specifically I'm looking at like commercial assets. So for commercial buildings, they have different times you have to pay taxes. They have different times that they assess how much they're worth, and they have different appeal processes. So when you have a large portfolio for commercial real estate, that can be super overwhelming to track. And a majority of these companies either just hire someone and they usually do it full time and they track it all in Excel, and that's just how they deal with it. Or they pay other companies. A big company in the industry is called Ryan, and typically it's like you hire bodies and you just throw bodies at the issue, and they typically, it's the appeal process to say, hey, no, my building's not actually worth that much. I shouldn't be paying this much in taxes. Typically, it can take anywhere from like 4 to 16 months depending on the asset type. So this, and their typical pay structure, which is really interesting. I don't know if you guys care at all about this, but I thought it was really interesting, is they do a commission basis. So they don't get paid until the actual appeal process is over with. And they normally, but the insane part is they normally get paid like 20 to 30% of the value saved. So if you save a bill, like these are $1 million buildings. If you save $1 million, you get 20, 30% of that. So it can be super worthwhile to do that. For specific county, and certain counties are renowned, like there's some in Texas where they almost always bump up your assessments at like a ridiculous level. It's like, oh, your building's now worth 25% more than it was last year. Go pay the taxes on this. And so that is by far one of the biggest fixed costs that property owners face. And so solving that could be very lucrative and very worthwhile. The other issue, go ahead.
What's the lag time on it?
It could be anywhere for an actual like full-on appeal process. If it goes to court and everything, could be anywhere from 4 months to 16 months. Again, depending on the asset type. So it could be really, really long lead time. So yeah, you can do. There are some software out there that exist of just like you put everything in there and it tells you, hey, here's all the stuff you got coming up. And they typically do like a flat, like, oh, pay $100 per property per month, or something like that. So if I were to go into that, it would be somewhere in the middle in terms of the software notifies you, but then also if you actually use the software to go do an appeal, you pay us X% that you would have saved. So I don't know. I'm playing around with it. I don't know for sure if that's 100% the avenue I want to go down. I'm interviewing some people tomorrow to get more information and see how feasible this really is. I feel like it would pair in really, really well with my commercial real estate background, as well as all the technology stuff that I've done in the past. The other side of things is talking to managed services providers. So that's like IT companies that go do basic stuff for other companies. So they'll do your office, they'll set up your email, security, all that kind of stuff. A lot of these guys don't have anyone who's doing analytics. So I'm calling around asking, saying, hey, do you have any analytics? If you are, if you don't, do you have anyone that you partner with or recommend to, and see if I can kind of build in a package for them. So I'm trying to do like an overly crazy offer just to see if it's even worthwhile for them, of saying like, hey, you know, I'll give you 10 hours of analytics work, setup, dashboard creation, whatever you want, maintenance. You can package it at whatever you want. Like you can charge whatever you want for it, but it has to be at least $1,500. And if you do that, you keep all the money. So the only money that I would make is any recurring revenue or additional revenue after the case. If they, you know, I build a dashboard for them, like, hey, we want you to build another one or something like that. So I'm trying to see if that's an offer that people are interested in. So I have a big list of specifically I'm starting for companies in Phoenix that don't seem to already have an analytics team, and then call them and see if that's something they're interested in.
Who are you reaching out to with those calls?
See, that's the tough part, is I don't really know who's the best person to reach out to. I'm going for smaller companies, so I'm going to play around with a couple positions and see who's the best bang for your buck. But honestly, something I learned a little bit about when I was starting to do some of the cold call stuff at the end of last year is there was a line that I kept using that was honestly very effective at just getting your foot in the door a little bit better. And that's just asking, it's like, hey, this is what I'd like to talk about. Do you know who the best person would be to talk to about that? And like before that, you also say like, hey, I'm wondering if you can help me for a second. I'm just looking for the right person to talk to. And so half the time people are like, hey, that's me. I'm the person to talk to about that. Or they have like a easy out of like, oh, okay, actually that's this guy. This guy would be great to talk to. Here's his number, and then you can say, oh, Thaddeus, he said you were the best person to talk to about this, and then you could do that. So it's kind of funny about how all the little lessons from last year are kind of trickling in and becoming useful.
Nice. Do you think there's would it be worth it to go to any of these places in person or try and set up an in-person meeting, or do you think it'd be best to kind of do it over a Google Meet or something like that?
I think a lot of this is phone calls, and then if these guys are even remotely interested, then that could be like an in-person meeting. So like, hey, I'm local. I want to make sure you guys are successful, but I need to like kind of get my feet wet first before I start committing to in-person, because some of these guys might be like, hey, you're barking up the wrong tree. Like, don't even bother. Like, we don't. No one cares about analytics, all that kind of stuff. It's that. A lot of this is just kind of fact checking my existing beliefs and like, all right, is this as widely used as I think it is? And so I'm trying to do that with the property tax side of things as well, because the more I think about it, the consulting side of things is trading my hours for time, and it takes a long time to build that up to have the right people so that I can focus on building the business more versus actually building a software that can scale insanely, but it also takes a lot more upfront. So I need to be really careful with how I'm allocating my time and what path I go down.
Which I feel like at the same time too, that as far as even if it kind of spins off in a different direction and that gets busy, then it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
especially if you find something that nobody else can do and you have that software.
Exactly.
My buddy works for a company, a software company, where they did this kind of the same thing. They built a software for HR, for like HR. So when you go to pick all of your insurance stuff for these big companies, it's like a whole system that walks you through it. And they're like $1 billion company now within 6 years. It's crazy.
And something that's really interesting is, so I've been reading a lot of books recently, and one book, I'm making sure, it's by Cody Sanchez, Main Street Millionaire.
That one just came out, huh?
Yeah, that one's pretty fresh. And I've read similar books, but she goes in depth at a different level that I haven't seen before, and it's really interesting. So her whole concept is buying about like core businesses that are going to be pretty recession resistant. And but her strategy overall is not only finding a business that works for her, but also finding businesses that can sync together really well. So if she buys like a property management company, she wants to buy like a landscaping company and kind of fold them in together. And so the landscaping company does work for the property management company, and you get to save, you basically get more leverage across those different companies. So
just creating vertical integration at that point.
Vertical integration, yeah, it's super interesting, kind of creating a holding company that holds all of that. And so like she's just talking through a lot of things, and I was telling McKenna this the other day. I feel like I'm being handed a lot of puzzle pieces, and I feel like the end of last year I've been handed a lot of puzzle pieces. I still don't know where they go. I still don't know how it all fits together, but I feel like I'm starting to get more tools in my toolkit than I had before, which is exciting, but also a little nerve-wracking.
I think the biggest thing, like we've talked about all year, is just going to be, it comes down to the customer, and that really translates to leads, because at the end of the day, we believe since the very beginning that you have something to offer to the marketplace, and you proved it very quickly that you had stuff that you did for people. So if people wanted your services, now you're kind of building that suite out, but it's to say, all right, how do I get in front of somebody that can recognize, here's what I have and here's what I can do for them.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. That's all for me. That's everything I've got.
Cool. Mason, let's dive in.
All right. Real quickly, go over the numbers. We've got about 15,000 active homes. We only had 858 houses close last week. We think we're about average, just about there. And our interest rates are at 7.1%. Now, those numbers don't really mean anything. I don't remember if I said this on the last podcast, but like this is the first time since 2020 where the normal real estate cycle, we're like back on track. So like this is the first time since 2020 where the October, November, December were the slow months, because the years prior to it, it was like we just stayed the same. So hopefully these are signs that we're going back on a normal track and that interest rate drops, because that'd be nice. Because when does Trump go in office? Like 8 days now?
January 20th.
Yeah, so people are weird about Trump, so I bet you we'll see something hopefully positive happen. But yeah, so recap numbers. Had another goose egg in December, but I'm not too worried about it. I had 2 escrows, a buy sell fall out because my listing fell out, or the buyer fell or canceled the contract, so I lost both of them. But we still got that one for sale. And then mine and Thaddeus's buy sell client came across some personal stuff, so they decided to hold off till this year, 2025. So didn't end the year as strong as I wanted to, but I think that the first quarter is going to be a good one.
And what'd you close at last year?
You deleted all the numbers before I could look at it. I believe I was at 83 or 84 and change.
No, it's still there.
Oh, does it? Oh,
yeah.
So was I 14?
I added extra tabs at the bottom.
Okay, I was short about 14.
Yeah, it's 83,225.
Yeah, so if one of those deals closed, I would have hit it, and it would have looked cooler on paper.
Cool.
But
what's the you mentioned you did the business plan going into this year. What's the goal for this coming year? Gross sales and then net profit.
So I haven't solidified anything. I've reviewed all the numbers. So I try to be more optimistic than, picking a huge number. Because I believe I think the number was 14 total closings, which isn't terrible. It's above average, but not one of my best. But I'm shooting for 18 and I don't know what but take home is 130. So gross would probably be around 250.
So you're going to try and 3x what you did this year?
Yep. Because even if I 3x it this year, I'm still not at where I was before the fall off of the business. So feel confident.
Cool. Sweet. All right.
And taxes, I'm very excited because usually I haven't started, but I'm already about 80% done with my taxes.
There we go.
Heck yeah.
Just the relief of I'm not even done yet, and I already feel relieved because it's mostly done. And because every year with the PLLC, my taxes are due before everybody else's, like the end of late January. So I always pay a late fee.
Gotcha.
Let's go. And watch out, guys. We're getting real close to the YouTube stuff.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've got the YouTube channel, everything, like the whole channel, everything set up. I got everything all out.
The channel's been set up for the last 8 months.
Not really. Well, I mean, it was created. It wasn't like set up. But I have all the videos where I'm doing them and like the outlet. So I'm significantly more able to do it. So now if I don't, then it's a real like, you piece of poop. Oh, you didn't have to leave like that, Alex. Jesus, sorry. But anyways, so basically my action stats for next month are, I wrote them down backwards, but number 1 is just keep the daily time blocking going. Oh, hey, bud.
Hey,
And,
sorry about that.
And get the YouTube stuff going, because I feel confident that with the follow-up with everything, so now it's start to keep working the sphere and now start bringing in and not rely on like team and broker leads and create more of my own leads. Do we have enough time to talk about the assumable loans?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So I don't know if we briefly touched about it before, but this isn't like a new thing. There's always been assumable loans. There's usually only FHA or VA loans. So basically that means, some of these people who have 3%, 2%, 4% interest rates, their loan is assumable. So whatever they owe on the loan minus what the total purchase price is, if you can come up with that gap in cash, then essentially the down payment, you can take over the seller's current loan at that 3.5% interest rate. So that's not for everybody. It's for people who have, a larger sum of cash to put down on it.
So just to make this kind of a more real example, if like I bought my house around $400,000, I didn't have a 3% interest rate, but we'll pretend that I did.
Mhm.
We'll pretend that I've got $100,000 equity into it, so there's $300,000 left on the loan. If I'm looking to sell, Alex wants to buy it, and he has $300,000. He can just assume the loan, or can he have
Not
less
even
than 300,000?
Yeah, that scenario will be a little unrealistic because people usually don't have 6 figures of cash hanging around. So let's say your remaining balance on your loan is 380,000, but then you're selling your home for let's just do real small for 420. So somebody agrees to buy your house for 420, you have 380 left, so you have to come up with 40 grand. So 420 minus
Okay, so
380. Yep. So you
it's
put
the
down
difference
40
between-
grand. Yep.
Gotcha.
So essentially, cash goes to the seller, and then you take over the loan at the interest rate. You keep their payments and all that good stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, that
So,
makes more sense.
Yep. That's why it's not for everybody too, because a lot of people with the low interest rates usually have higher equity in it. So most of the time, if a home has an assumable loan, you got to pay up. You got to have a good chunk of change to put down. But if you have that, that's a lot better than getting a brand new loan at 7.1% interest rate. And that what I would want to talk about too, because I actually took over a listing from another agent who had it listed for this property for 100 days. It was a little bit overpriced, but I just asked the seller, be like, hey, call your lender and see if your loan is assumable. Called the lender, it is, boom. We started advertising it, and I think I've had it for like 3 weeks. And there's a little more complicated with this one because we have a timetable we have to sell and a certain price point, so they're a little picky with stuff. But I want to say, like, during the slowest time of the year, we had 30 plus showings on it, and just for the assumable
Okay.
loan. Yeah, and I think, during the podcast, I just got an offer on it, so I'll have to look at that. But that's just food for thought. If you're going to sell your home, call whoever you pay your mortgage to, call and ask if it's assumable, because they'll look it up and say yes or no, and then most of your realtor should ask you that question, but if they don't, you can always find out yourself too. And then if you have a large chunk of change to put down on a home, tell your realtor to find some assumable homes for sale. So it's a way to get through the 7% interest rates.
If someone had, like, let's maybe take it as an example for someone who's downsizing.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting ready to retire, so they're going to sell their house. They're going to have a chunk of change, or like they've sold their house, they've been renting for a little bit, and they've been sitting on some cash. Would this be something, especially for them, that they'd want to use?
Yeah, the trick is finding them, because not all homes listed right now are advertising because it's assumable loan. Because honestly, I don't think all realtors know that loans can be assumable.
Which to that point, can you go after a house and talk to the agent about doing an assumable loan?
Yeah.
So,
So
if you have a house listed, can someone call you and be like, hey, I saw that they've owned this since 2020, and we can see the loan history, and they refied 2020, 2021, so we know they got that low interest rate. Is it possible for us to assume the loan? Because even like it would put a little bit more research on the realtor side, but if you could come to your client and say, hey, guess what, that house you wanted, like I found a way for you to get it a hell of a lot cheaper.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
that would
exactly.
be insane.
And the realtor doesn't have to do anything besides call his client and be like, call your mortgage company and see if it is. Because usually,
if that's the case, then I feel like this should be more of a realtors really should be advertising this more, as far as saying, hey, let's pursue this avenue and just check all the houses to see who's owned the houses for whatever length of time, and anything between mid 2022 and current date, we know they're going to have 5%, 5.5% or higher, but anything before that, they might be lower than 4. And that's going
Yeah,
to be a steal for a lot of people, especially when the interest rate is going to be the biggest thing that's holding them up from that monthly payment.
exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing that sucks because there's an assumable loan box you can check on the MLS, but you're also banking on the realtor to actually check the proper box. So when I have people who have a larger chump and change, I just set them up on what they want, and I tell them we talk about the assumable loan. And I just say, hey, like anything you kind of like if you're not sure if you like it, but if it had a 3.5 interest rate, you would like it, then save it because I'm going to go through all the ones you like and just verify all of them. And that's an easy.
Mason, honestly, I feel like this is something that I would try and push this to your entire sphere, and I would do I would make your goal for January to have 2 YouTube videos, whichever one you've already got planned, and then one where you're talking about assumable loans to explain like, hey, here's what we can do, and here's how I can do it, even if the other agent doesn't understand that it's available. Because like we've talked about before, the hard part with realtors is you're like now, since the stuff that happened in August, you need to have an offer for your clients on why to sign on with you. So if you can be the person in the industry who's saying, hey, guess what? Like I'm the realtor who can get you, I can help you get the loan that's at 3%.
Yep.
And they go, well, how the hell is he doing that when no one else can? And you can legitimately do it, and you explain to them the process. Like, dude, put that in an email blast, put that with the videos that you guys send out. Like, I would hammer that, because this to me is the differentiating factor. Almost everything is the same across the board for realtors, but this is one of the big differences. And if people don't know it in the real estate industry, dude, hammer that home until people are knocking down your door.
Yeah, one of the smaller videos I have planned is the sumo one, because I already have I did that video with my newsletter to my sphere and stuff. But I was even thinking about, spending the cash, and even though most of them will get thrown away, but create some kind of EDM, I think it's called something else. That's music, but the mail marketers that title can usually print up for us and get somebody just to catch their eye on, get a loan for 3.5%. Just somebody who's looking.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I would focus more on create a solid Instagram post, figure out how to condense that down, and if anything, just boost that post to your sphere.
Yeah. I have it, because I'm still trying to figure out how to make it. Yeah, because I want to make it more consumer based too, instead of, because there's so many videos where they're like explaining. I've watched a bunch of them, and it's nothing so that's why I have it on my list to do, because there's no videos out there like for the consumer. It's just explaining what it is, and but it's like, okay, well, how do I go about it? What do I do? That's cool. And then
let's talk after the podcast, because I've got some ideas for how to do that, and let's just knock that out in the next week so that it's done. Because the Instagram video, it should just be like attention grabber, and then explain it, call to action at the end.
Yep.
Crush it in 30 seconds to a minute. That's done. And then create a YouTube video on it, 5-10 minutes, and then you're good to go. Push all of that to your client base like you're doing with your time blocking. I honestly think that's something that you could differentiate yourself, because you saw a lot of stuff popping up with the subject to assumptions and different things like that earlier this year. And that got a lot of traction on social media, but then it seemed like no one knew how to do that. So as far as I'm aware, it kind of
those are more, those are way more complicated than an assumable loan. All you got to do is ask a couple questions, and then it's a normal process.
But the only thing people heard in all of that is, wait, I can get a 3% mortgage or 2.5% mortgage, regardless if it was subject to or assumable. They don't know the difference, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All they heard was I can get a low percent interest rate. So that's what I would hammer. Forget all the other stuff. Forget trying to differentiate it. It's different than subject to, because no one cares.
Oh no, yeah, fuck no. I mean, screw that. Dang it! I almost went the whole podcast without cursing.
I was gonna say, I don't know if we dropped anything yet.
Yeah, I thought about it twice, but I didn't.
I have to put that explicit tag on there.
No children allowed to listen to this.
Yep. Dude, I honestly do. Whenever I upload this to Spotify, I have to put the explicit tag on it.
Well, I was watching something where like you don't want to put your YouTube videos as made for kids because it limits the people.
Yeah.
Who can
No.
They're
Yeah.
very
No.
strict about that.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. My son has a YouTube. This is going off subject. My son has a YouTube channel. I let him post some like weird like videos he like. I watch them all before he puts them on there.
Mhm.
But he made this. It was actually really funny. Where like it was like a song that's popular, and he just like did fart noises because he's getting into editing.
There you go.
But it got taken down because apparently there was like some type of sexual movement, and I think it was because he stuck his butt in front of the camera and farted, made the fart noise.
Very
So
sexual.
they're very. I mean, I'm okay with that, but they're very sensitive with that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad they are though.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I was like,
Yeah.
it makes sense. I get it. He's just gonna be upset, which who cares?
Tell him he just can't gyrate in front of the camera until he's 18.
It was funny too. It made me laugh actually. He's 18. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
All right. There we go. So I guess Instagram video TBD
Sweet.
Cool.
with analytics attached to it somehow.
You just say we're gonna run the analytics to find you a.
Oh, we're gonna use control analytics.
No,
We're
just say
gonna plug you.
analytics is yesterday's news. You got to do AI. It's like, oh, we have an AI program that can search for, and the AI is just ChatGPT. What is an addressable loan?
No, it's gonna be Alex's intelligence. They just don't know.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a new Von Reich AI created
Yeah.
by Control Analytics, one of the top analytics companies.
One of one language learning model. It is unpredictable for sure.
Yep.
All right. Anyways,
All right, Dad, you
Anything
have
else?
some thoughts?
Yep. I've got a.
I need to
Company
find.
thought.
I know you hate talking about this during the podcast, but I need to find a good setup for you for the thoughts. Put it on a tee for you. Boom.
But anyways, our company thoughts for the evening. I want to talk about word of mouth and kind of growing through word of mouth. And the reason why I started thinking about this a lot more during this year was I kind of hit this breaking point of I asked, even just since the beginning that I got into the trades, we're coming upon 10 years ago. I would always just be curious and ask the different guys like how they had built their companies and how they had gone from one customer to where they were at then, because I was just always like, man, they seem like they're killing it, making a lot of money. And it was always the same story. Oh, I did a project for John, and John referred me to Tommy, and then Tommy referred me to whoever, and it kind of just went from there. And I was always looking for the person where they did something that made it go faster. And especially as I was looking to go out on my own, because like I wanted to find the way to make it go faster, but it was just the same thing over and over. Now, there are companies obviously outside the trades where they've got different ways. We've been trying different ways this year. And, but the thing that seemed to be working the best just for all of us has been word of mouth. So with word of mouth, there's some misconceptions with the idea that, oh, someone's just going to tell someone else and then it's kind of out of my hands. So I've kind of built a framework around this with how to actually utilize word of mouth. So the first thing, and it's going to seem really obvious, but it can get missed, and that's just intent. I had a friend who was doing some work on cars and to make some extra money, and in talking to him about that, I was like, well, what do you want to do with it? He's like, well, I guess if other people want me to work on their cars, then I'll do it. And I was like, well, do you want to? He's like, yeah, it gets more money for me. And I'm like, well, the problem with you not having the intent of saying, I want to grow this and being purposeful with that is when you're working with your friends, they can feel like it's a burden to you that you're doing it for them. So they don't want to keep bugging you. Like for him, it's bringing more cars to him. And they definitely don't want to send their friends to him because they don't want to feel like they're burdening him even further. And that applies to all of our businesses. It's if I go over to someone's house as a friend to help them do something and not tell them, hey, I actually want to do more of this and like get paid to do more of this. Like it dies right there because they think they're being nice to you, but they're actually strangling your business. So with that, it's you want to be telling them thank you and then asking for more of it. And not just asking, but our kind of second thing is going to be ask 3 times. So the way that we do this is going to be we want to ask it 3 times during the process. Now, if you've got a quick transaction, it doesn't really work. Like if someone walks into a smoothie shop, it's different. But for especially the 3 of our businesses that you want to be asking right after the sale, in the middle of the service you're providing, and then at the close. So this looks a little different for realtors because your sale is not when someone goes under contract. The sale is when they sign the buyer broker with you, because that's what you're selling. You're selling yourself. At the end of the day, then you become a professional friend, helping them find the correct house that they want, they fit in, all that good stuff. But you're going to ask it those 3 times. Now, it feels weird at first, but it's a good way to do it. And you're anchoring it at the key landmarks that you're hitting throughout the process. One of the kind of, I labeled it pro tip in my notes, was that for me, when I'm getting ready to walk out the door, like I've received my final check, everything's done, punch list is done. For Mason, this would be, they've got the keys, they've been given their present. Alex, everything's been delivered. They're going to be ready to go on autopilot until they need them next time. It's, hey, can I ask 2 things of you before I leave? And that is, 1, can you give me a review online? And 2, if someone asks for something similar, can you send them my contact info? And usually if you kind of pause can I ask 2 things of you? They're like, yeah, sure. What's up? And you hit them with that. Usually they're pretty inclined to do it. So, and then it's send 1 link to them for them to fill out online. So right now I'm really trying to hammer the Google Business. Mason would most likely be hammering Zillow, and then Alex, I'm not sure if you've got where are you directing people?
I'm normally just giving them my phone number or email.
Cool. So the next one is going to be the 3-way. Now, hopefully that got everyone's attention, but it doesn't have to do with anything in the gutter. So when someone texts you, calls you, says, hey, I've got a friend that's looking to buy a house. Can I send them your phone number, Mason? It's not just, yeah, send them my phone number. It's absolutely, I would love to help them. Can you add us all in a 3-person text saying, hey, this is Mason. He helped me out and he can help you out. Now, it feels awkward at first, but the reason why we do it this way is because it's kind of, for me, it's a restaurant analogy. That it's like when I tell Alex, oh, I went to this barbecue spot and it was really good. He might be like, oh, okay, cool. That sounds good. There's a 10% chance that he's going to go. But if I say, hey, Alex, do you want to go to this barbecue spot right now? The percentage chance of that happening goes up exponentially. So essentially you're bringing, when you get into a 3-person text message, you're right there with them, and you can easily jump off of the text message pretty quickly. So it's they'll introduce you. Hey, Tommy, thanks for introducing me. John, heard that you're looking to do this. And then usually it's like, yeah, they'll send you a couple details. Cool. I'm going to message you directly to see if we can schedule a call, schedule a meeting, whatever. And then you jump off so you're not blowing that person up, but you've immediately linked to them rather than being a month down the line. Hey, did your friend ever? Oh yeah, they went with someone else or something changed. It's like, no, you're jumping in the moment. So the next one's going to be execute. This really goes back to just our product and customer experience, that if you're not blowing their minds with what you're doing, the customer experience they have along the way, why are you even asking? And are they really going to do it? Because it was vanilla. It was good enough, but whatever. So that's why for us, it's the product and customer experience. Like, it's the backbone of everything that we're building off of for the word of mouth. The next one's going to be, if someone asks for a discount, we always say no. And the reason why is we don't do discounts, but we'll do trades. And usually the trade that we're looking to do is some kind of word of mouth. I had a small job and it was only like $1,600. It was going to be one night doing some trim work, and sent the estimate over to the person. They said, hey, my budget really is just $1,200. Can you knock it off a little bit, knock it down a little bit so that we can get that done. And I said, no, but if you can leave me a review, then I can put it, then we could do it. So I've seen it where it went wrong, that someone, they sold something for several $100,000, and the customer asked for a discount, and they said yes. And then there was a second order to this whole process, and they were provided the price. They asked for a discount, and the person said yes. And this happened like 4 or 5 times, so that by the end, the person who was selling knew, hey, we almost need to pad the number a little bit because we know we're going to get asked for a discount. But when you make it where it's not a discount, it's an exchange for something, it makes it where if someone's going to ask for a discount, then they kind of know in the back of their mind that you're going to be asking for something back. And if you ask for them to refer you, then that's the way to start doing it quicker. The way that I do this as well is I kind of screwed this up on that example that I said. I gave the discount before really seeing the fulfillment of that online review. It worked out for me. We've done a ton of repeat business for this person, so I don't care. And it was full price, so that example wasn't me. Anyways, make sure that when you send over the final invoice before, like, you send over the full price for the invoice, and if they say, hey, I thought we agreed to this, it's like, yeah, it was agreed to, but you need to do the online review. If you do the online review, we knock it down right away. And then sometimes this can feel weird, but to justify it to the customer, you can just tell them, hey, I can build this in, and use my marketing budget to do the discount if you do this thing. So it's an easy way to kind of massage it, and then it doesn't feel like you're being weird about it. So the next thing is going to be thanking the person that refers you. And so what this looks like is whenever someone refers me, if John calls me up, says, hey, Tommy referred me, said that you can do whatever. It's once I set the appointment with that guy, I'm calling Tommy to say, hey, thank you so much for getting me connected with John. It's we're going to go out there and do his thing. Like, I really appreciate it. You make sure that they know you want more of that. It kind of goes back to our first thing, but you're conditioning them that this is what you want. You want more of that. You want to give them a positive feedback loop so that whenever someone starts mentioning that around them, that they're jumping to it quicker and quicker and quicker. And at the end of the day too, it's, if you're thanking them very quickly, it's like, you don't need to go buy a gift for the most part. Like, that's usually an effective and cheap way to do it that really works. The last thing is just going to be like, find ways to stay top of mind, because I even realized this with people I follow on Instagram, where I'll forget that I'm following some people, and I try and follow a lot of tradespeople. So whether they're architects, designers, different guys that do different trades, that I'll forget what exactly they do until they post, but they only post once every 2 months or whatever. And sometimes they're posting, hey guys, we do this thing. So whether that, whether that's an email, social media stuff, whatever, it's just stay in front of your people. One of the things that I like to do with the YouTube videos for a project is, like, we don't really start to publish them until the whole project is completely done. So it's nice that when like, if we do a kitchen and we show the first steps of the kitchen, they kind of have this, oh, wow moment, because they've been living in the remodel for several weeks. So they've already started to forget what it looked like originally. So then they associate everything with, like, they get to replay those emotions in their mind and create that link between you and them. So it's a nice way that it's tag them in the Instagram posts, if you're going to take a screenshot, post the review on your social media, whatever, make sure you tag them, just so that you're conditioning the people around you that you want them to tell more people about you and be an advocate for you. So those are, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's like, we've got eight things on there. So those are 8 ways that we're really trying to focus on the growth through the word of mouth.
Yeah.
Boys, you got anything to add or clarify?
Yeah, something I wanted to add about the 3-way conversations is sometimes referrers themselves think that, oh, I can only refer you to someone who I know super well. Back in college, I had a friend of mine who had been a recruiter for a couple of years, and I had asked him, I was like, hey, I see you know this one guy that I'm trying to get a hold of. Can you introduce us? Because he was connected on LinkedIn. The guy did a three-way chat and introduced me. And then I ended up getting coffee with this guy and chatting with him. I was like, oh, cool. How do you know this guy? He's like, oh, I don't know him at all. Like, we're just connected on LinkedIn. Like, I don't know him at all. And ironically, through that conversation from that guy, it connected us, and my buddy actually ended up, he's still working at that guy's company because of all of that. So don't undervalue the power of connection, whether even if it's through LinkedIn or otherwise. Just someone saying, hey, I know this person, would you like to talk to them, can go a really long way.
And to double down on that, it's probably a lot more comfortable for if Alex were to say, hey, can you introduce me to someone? And even if I don't know that person that well, I feel like I'm being genuine, helping that person, introducing Alex to them, rather than me going up and being like, do you want to remodel something? Because
yeah, exactly.
Like it takes a lot of the I don't want to say selfishness out of it, but the self-desire out of it for sure.
It's social proof, and I think it's very, very powerful to have someone else introduce you than to introduce yourself, especially to strangers.
Yeah, I started actually, as weird as you're talking about it, recently, like over the past 3 months. Although I haven't been dealing with a lot of buyers, but I've actually, instead of giving them the information with my lender to get pre-qualified, I call my lender, three-way call them, and try to join chat them. And those I've done successfully twice, and both of them are actively buying and already pre-qualified. So
Nice.
I didn't have to wait for them to try to call somebody. I'm all about that.
That's a good example too of you working it backwards, right? Because you need them to go through that process before you can go forward. Mm-hmm. So you making sure that, hey, we're just hitting green lights from here on out. You want to make sure that their foot just doesn't come off the gas. If you know that this is a good decision for them, and life just happens, but if you can be the person to make sure, hey, like, let's just make sure we keep moving forward, that's fantastic. So that's a perfect way to do it, even from the opposite side.
Yeah, yep. That works like any direction. I'm all about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. All right, boys. Anything else?
That's it for me.
No, dude, get healthy.
All right. Let's do socials.
Okay.
Alex?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Alex von Reich, or at control-analytics.com.
I'm on the Instagram at Mason Oxendale.
Instagram, Cyto_building, and then it's cyto-building.com for right now. I think the purgatory should be over by this time so we can get our domain fixed, but we'll see when that's done.
Sweet. So until next time.
I hope your hammer stays accurate.
Your Wi-Fi fast.
And your work blessed.
See you, everybody.
Yeah.
Does that work?
No, it's way too loud when you do it like that.